Chrome Hearts is one of the hottest, most exclusive, and most expensive brands out there right now. You might have heard of them. It'd be hard not to. They make clothing, accessories, and jewelry, and I'm definitely no jewelry expert, so I'm going to be focusing on the clothes today. So, it appears there's a hype train coming. The din of that steam whistle is getting closer and closer. However, that train is full of car after car of overpriced black tees and hoodies, stale Avenged Sevenfold graphics, and baby's first Hot Topic purchase streetwear. I don't think that train deserves to reach its destination, so let's derail that sucker. But before we do that, where did this train come from anyway? Not out of nowhere, although it may seem that way. It actually first got up and running in 1988, believe it or not. It was a simpler time. Reagan was signing a bill that would sentence drug traffickers to death. George H.W. Bush was elected. A couple lowly bikers named Richard Stark and John Bowman somehow decided that they could charge your firstborn for the stuff most people were buying from Army-Navy surplus stores. Yes, that's where our story begins. Richard and John first hooked up by styling a movie called Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town. And honestly, that right there kind of explains everything. Also, I totally didn't make that up. It's really what happened. This trashy brand started by making trashy costumes for a trashy movie. If only they were all that easy. Before long, the brand added a master jeweler to their roster of partners, as well as Stark's eventual wife, Lori Lynn. At some point, John Bowman drifted away. Maybe he grew a conscience and decided making tattoo shop merch wasn't really his calling in life. Somehow, they grew a following, becoming the high-fashion rock and roll brand, cemented by collaborations with the Rolling Stones and Guns N' Roses. They also convinced some of the biggest names in fashion to hop aboard: Rick Owens, Virgil Abloh, COMME des GARÇONS, and more. And this is where the hype train really started, as any hype train does. Cool people say it's cool, and that becomes self-fulfilling. Why is it cool? Because it is. But at some point, someone has to answer that why. And if no one can provide a satisfactory answer, then we can only conclude that we've all been duped. So, if you ask someone, why is Chrome Hearts cool? You may get a variety of answers. They're expensive. Yeah, so are Segways and diamond contact lenses. They're exclusive. And it's hard to get a membership at Mar-a-Lago, but I don't see you banging on the door to get in there. They make high-quality biker pieces. After a quick Google search, it looks like there are tons of them. Deus Ex Machina, Atwild, Alms, El Solitario, and a quick peek at any one of those shows pieces with a lot more excitement than anything from Chrome Hearts. But why am I going so hard on them? Because we can do better. Let's look at some Chrome Hearts staples and I'll show you what I mean. Here's a Los Angeles exclusive white t-shirt. If I saw this without knowing anything about Chrome Hearts, I'd assume it was cheap merch from a biker bar or tattoo shop. And here's a vintage Chrome Hearts long sleeve. Do you see any significant change between this and the last shirt? Do you see an evolution of the design language? A growth in the artistic voice? Those are rhetorical questions, if only because the answer is so gruesomely obvious. Let's take a Chrome Hearts collaborator, Virgil Abloh, someone who has in fact been accused of repeating himself over and over. Here are some images from the very first Off-White collection a mere 7 years ago. Of course, it contains some of the elements that made him famous and still exist in his work today. But look at these images from his latest collection. And no, I didn't cherry pick the most different ones. I actually went out of my way to grab only the closest pieces to that first collection. There has been growth, evolution, and a clear perspective shift. Now for a better comparison. Let's look at new versus vintage from another brand. Or should I say, band. Yeah, it's pretty damn obvious at this point, at least I hope it is. Chrome Hearts isn't a fashion company, it's just a brand. Fashion companies make clothes. Brands slap logos on things. It's a big, big difference. And I don't want to be accused of cherry picking the most boring things from Chrome Hearts either. Let's look at another piece. What's different here? The placement, sure, and this time it also says, fuck you. Is there a less rebellious way of trying to look like a rebel? If you actually want to be rebellious, take a stand for something. Instead of saying, fuck you, say Hong Kong freedom. Hell, go full Kanye and print a shirt that says Chrome Hearts, Trump 2020. At least then you're actually being controversial. Fuck you is what a 13-year-old yells in public, and everyone just shrugs, and the kid and his friends run off snickering and high-fiving each other because they're such badasses, right? Like, come on. Okay, I've only shown shirts and hoodies so far. What about one of the big things they're famous for, leather? Is it a step up from what we've seen so far? Sure. And far be it from me to do a deep dive into what makes certain leather better than others. That is so far from my area of expertise, I might as well be in Thailand. But let's keep talking about that idea of design language. Is there something in the design of these pieces that makes them inherently better than other, far less respected and far less expensive biker brands? Let's look at some of the ones I mentioned before. I may sound crazy here. I would wear both of those jackets before I wore any Chrome Hearts leather jacket I've ever seen. Now, are there things I like about Chrome Hearts? If I look real hard, sure, I can find them. Their graphic placement is generally slightly more interesting than the average metal band tee. It seems like they take cues from tattoo culture. When a person gets some text tattooed on them, they don't tend to get it straight across their chest. They'll probably get it down their ribs, over a breast, on a bicep, or along the neck. This is where Chrome Hearts tend to place their graphics, which is smart. I also mentioned it earlier, and I'd be remiss if I didn't reiterate that the things Chrome Hearts may be most respected for are their accessories. And due to the near infinite amount of things a brand can make that can count as accessories, see also Supreme, this offers Chrome Hearts a better opportunity to show the full breadth of their aesthetic. They can craft gothic saddlebags, chunky charms, ornate rings, and more often than not, it works, if you want to look like a billionaire Van Helsing. As you can hear in my voice, it's still not for me, but at least on this end of things, I can kind of, sort of, start to get it. But let me point out another thing here, one that you may have noticed. All of these images you've seen so far have not come from Chrome Hearts. They're pictures taken by resellers. Why is that? Because Chrome Hearts really doesn't have an online presence, at least in a product sense. That's very much by design, and another reason why a podunk bar band visual identity has somehow become cultural cachet. You can't buy Chrome Hearts online. You have to go to one of their stores to get your hands on an authentic new piece. You can't even look at pictures of the stuff online. That alone isn't enough to blow up a brand, right? In fact, it's exactly the opposite of what a harebrained marketing consultant would tell you. I mean, my grandpa doesn't have an online presence either, and I definitely couldn't get $800 selling him, no matter how many times I've tried. However, if Bella Hadid showed up to a red carpet with my grandpa as her date, you know everyone would be Googling Bella Hadid with old man faster than an out-of-touch brand can delete a racially insensitive marketing campaign image. Now, in case I lost you there, here's what I'm trying to say. Famous people wear Chrome Hearts, people go online looking for it, and they're given an address. Now let me tell you, when I go to a brand's physical store, my wallet gets beaten like a piñata at a budding serial killer's birthday party. Why is that? Well, the entire experience is designed to do so. I was on a work trip not so long ago, pre-COVID, and I went to an upscale mall. I had a couple $100 I was willing to part with if I found something that caught my fancy. A couple hours later, my hands were full of heavy logo-clad bags, and I had spent many multiples more than I'd budgeted. That's because you get wined and dined. Kind of literally in many cases. As soon as you walk in the door, there's a sales associate working just with you. They're giving you a glass of wine. They're showing you different pieces, encouraging you to try them on, and then telling you how incredible you look in them. When I'm shopping online, I will never in my life buy a $600 t-shirt. Maybe when it's 80% off on Farfetch. But that's how these brands command these insane price points. They sell the lifestyle. So, you want Bella's t-shirt. You go into a Chrome Hearts store, and that t-shirt is really, really damn expensive. You tell yourself it's worth it, because how couldn't it be? It's just so cool. And now suddenly, you are a data point proving that shirt's inflated value. But now think about the alternative, the route most brands opt for while chasing that elusive butterfly known as scale. They sign purchase orders with every retailer that's willing to have them. The Nordstroms, Essences, Saks, and Matches fashions of the world. Suddenly, those brands are printing a lot more t-shirts to fill those orders. Now, the supply is starting to catch up with the demand. A portion of those pieces end up on the sale rack, and you have to make your prices more realistic next season to stay competitive. Now, that makes it sound like a bad thing, but I don't necessarily think it is. It's best for the consumer because it means things are priced at a fair market value, and scale can be very, very profitable for a brand. What I am saying, though, is that it's obvious manufactured scarcity is great at creating hype. See also again, Supreme. That's the key word there, manufactured. In another, fairer world, Chrome Hearts would have signed a licensing deal with Spencer's Gifts in 1993, and all these tees you're seeing on Grailed for $400 would instead be 3 for $25 at your local vintage shop. Let's look at a different angle now. I want to talk about the idea of merch. What do I mean by that? Well, Merriam Webster Dictionary defines merch as an item that... Just kidding. Don't you hate when channels do that? This isn't a thesis paper you've got to stretch the word count on. No, we all know what merch is. But think about it. Do you know the difference between merch and fashion? It can be a semantic difference, but the difference is there. Fashion is an end in and of itself. It can be art or just an idea. It hopefully represents originality. Merch is a product. Often it's a souvenir or a tack-on. Merch is the hat that you get from your favorite restaurant or the shirt you get of your favorite TV show. They are references to something else. That's exactly what Chrome Hearts clothes do. They are simply references to Chrome Hearts the brand. They have no innate art, and they provoke no thought. There are a lot of fashion companies that have been accused of simply creating merch. I'd say the most famous as of late is COMME des GARÇONS. Obviously not high fashion COMME des GARÇONS, they're as respected as ever, notwithstanding some very questionable cornrows. I'm talking specifically about the CDG and Play sublines. And you know what? I really can't argue with that. They kind of are merch, but in a very different and I'd say better way from Chrome Hearts. COMME des GARÇONS, as a collection of fashion labels, the conglomerate, has a fairly clear hierarchy. At the bottom, you have the merch labels, Play and CDG. Then you head up the chain with Black, Shirt, Man, Homme Plus, and so on. Remember when I said merch was a reference to something else? Those higher end lines are what the Play and CDG merch are referring to. They are entry-level clothes priced at like $50, $100, and they point towards those more fashion-forward brands and tell you, check those out next. Now let's compare that with Chrome Hearts. What does Chrome Hearts merch refer to? Chrome Hearts the brand, that's all. And is the merch at an accessible price point? Absolutely not. It's about as accessible as a 150-degree angle wheelchair ramp. That hype train is only a couple miles away at this point, so let's build a nice big wall for that bad boy to crash into. Chrome Hearts are way too expensive. They haven't evolved their designs in 20 years. Other biker brands do leather pieces better. They artificially manufacture scarcity around their brand, and their designs are glorified merch. Okay, I think that'll do it. And I'm gonna get out of here before the cops peg me to this bloodbath.